Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's session on classroom management and organization. So, as educators, we need to understand that a well-managed classroom is a key to student success. So just like a driver maneuvering a vehicle towards its destination. So, a teacher also must skillfully guide students from the start of the academic year to achieving the learning goals. Our session today will focus on three main areas. First is we have classroom management. No? That is to establish rules, no? Order, ensuring that there is student engagement in our classroom. Then we have classroom organization. That is making sure that we structure the physical environment no, for effective learning. And the third, we have expectations for student behavior. That is to set clear standards no, to maintain discipline. So by the end of the session, students are expected to design a learner centered classroom layout that promotes engagement and academic progress. Now let's tackle one of the three main topics, which is classroom management. It is the strategic use of actions and techniques to maintain order and engagement, no? To ensure that we have a conducive learning environment. No? It is not about just controlling our students, but rather influencing and guiding them no, to be able to manifest a positive behavior. So, key components of effective classroom management is the rules and procedures. As teachers, we need to clearly define classroom rules and reinforce them consistently. When we say consistently, we should be able to be firm and subtle at the same time. We make sure that a yes is a yes for all, no, and a no is a no for everyone. Example, now when we make rules, it should be specific in order for the students to follow through what we expect from them. One example here is no, we will tell our students no, raise your hand before speaking. It helps to maintain order during discussions rather than just saying to your students, okay, I encourage everyone to participate. You may voluntarily answer to earn points, but you don't have specific instruction as to how no, they'll be able to share their thoughts. So, by being very specific when to answer, that is explicitly giving them the instruction that they need to raise their hand first before speaking because students have the tendency to be speaking altogether. So you may now, as a teacher, you may now have the difficulty recognizing as to which of the student now had that correct answer, and also it would be very chaotic in our classroom um, to have that overlapping voices. So giving the it is a simple instruction. Yet, when we give it concrete and very specific, it will help our classroom no, maintain its orderliness. Then we have proactive strategies. No? As teachers, we need to anticipate potential disruptions no, and address them before they escalate or elevate. For example, a teacher noticing that students become restless no, after long lectures as it will be very evident sometimes that they will be manifesting short movement, unnecessary movements, like for example standing up no, or trying to have that small talk with the seatmate, or um, playing no, with their allies. So therefore, as teachers, we need to be observant, and we make sure that if the lecture or the classroom or the course task is um, long already, we need to provide um, breather activities. When I say breather activities, these are interactive now. It could be brain teasers that will allow our students to refocus and also avoid no boredom, having that long no work hours. It could be, for example, every after 15 to 20 minutes. lecture, you will have in between breather exercises that will also be relevant to your topic. If it is a course task activities, we make sure that we are able to maintain their focus by um, trying to follow through who among the students um, had that out of track with the assigned task. So therefore, um, it's very important for us teachers to be proactive rather than preventive. Then we have the engagement techniques. So we need to keep students actively involved in our classroom. That is to reduce chances of misbehavior, because misbehaviors oftentimes be manifested if our students are not engaged. They are just they're sitting trying to wait what the teacher will tell them to do. So therefore, it's very important that we provide interactive activities such as gamified quizzes. No, do not just have the traditional quiz like writing on a piece of paper, but you can have it in a quiz bee, or you can ask your students to sign in an online application to have their score be recorded, or any form of a games that you can solicit answers from them to make sure that their interest now will be sustained in the whole class session. It's very important as well that teachers now need to be resourceful and creative to be able to lead the students for a more productive academic experience. Then we have classroom organization, which focuses on the physical environment of the learning space. Take note, class, that you will soon be teaching in the secondary level. So it's very important as well that we have an appropriate physical um, learning environment to their that will be fitting to the kind of learners that we have. So it's all about trying to design a learning space for our secondary level students. um, it is also making sure that our physical arrangement now will influence student behavior and participation to attain learning outcomes. So there are three best practices now in classroom organization, one of which is strategic furniture arrangement. No? That is how, as a teacher, how we position our desk, our chairs, the learning stations, that will maximize students' interaction. And minimize distractions, because there are tendencies for teachers to be displaying so much designs in the classroom that the color might be disrupting already, and also it could be an overcrowded classroom that students do have a limited space to move around. That's one of the factors that student will get easily be distracted, no? So one of the strategic furniture arrangement here, as presented in here in figure 2 by Mandrell's classroom layout. As you can see, we can group our students now, we can place them in cluster to encourage collaboration. So if you will be having a project-based activities now that they will be grouped, um, you will be arranging them to sit together with their group so that they can easily collaborate. So in this picture as well, as you can see in the layout, there is an enough space for the teacher to move around in between clusters. No, because as a teacher, whenever there are activities, we make sure that we move around to follow up. No, whether all groups are able to follow the instruction, there should be space for that as you try to move around, and as well making sure that the classroom display, no, for example, cabinets will not be obstructing the passage, no, of students and teachers as they move around the classroom for a course task activity. Then in the second slide, then we also have the U-shaped arrangement. And as you can see in the photo, we can also have our class be seated in this way to be able to foster open discussion, no? Sharing of ideas as a class, no, as a whole. So if students are seated, no, by cluster, it promotes small group discussions, while for the U shape, it allows an open discussion and sharing for the whole class. Then we have the resource placement. So we make sure that we organize, no, the materials and supplies needed for that specific session to be accessible, no, to make sure that unnecessary materials will not be mixed up, no, with the ones that we'll be using in our class, no, because that will affect transitions between activities. There are tendencies, no, for teachers who are disorganized in the classroom. It will take time for them to find a material that is needed for their discussion or demonstrating an activity for the students. So we make sure that the needed materials for your discussion, for your instruction in demonstrating a certain activity will be readily available. It's accessible, that it will not take so much of your time, not trying to go to the at the end of the classroom or trying to go to your desk finding something because you missed out to prepare. So everything should be prepared, no, to reduce no disruptions and maximize your instructional time, because in handling secondary students, the moment that we turn our back to them, they will be doing other things as well that is not related to the class. So we make sure as much as possible to not to be always no have an eye to eye contact with them, and whenever we need something like visual aids, we make sure that everything is placed no that is within reach to you while you are facilitating a class. Then we have classroom display. So it's very important as teachers to use our students' work no? um, to be able to motivate them to um, be performing well in your class, as well as educational posters no? And visual aids to enhance learning. So for suppose for example, we will be having the wall of achievements in which students, for example, those who are in the honors roll, that they will be displayed, or it could be the best student output will be displayed there in order to give credit no, for those students who really are performing well in our class. Then we have the third main topic, the expectations for student behavior. So we need to have that clear expectations now. When we say behaviorally, it is something observable, something that can be measured. No, it's essential for us to create a positive and a more productive classroom climate. So expectations now are not just about rules, but also about creating a culture of respect, no, responsibility, and engagement. So one of which is to clearly communicate our expectations rather than assume that our students already understand know what we mean. So it should be explicitly or clearly spelled out to them rather than just having that assumption, and no, you might end up being disappointed no, because you don't have that the same level of reasoning. So we need to clearly communicate it. Now, for example, you will say to your students that in this class, we respect each other's opinion by listening attentively. So when we communicate our expectations, we need to be clear. You do not just say we need to respect each other's opinion. There are a lot of ways to give respect. So as a teacher, no, being explicit here, being clear here is you make sure that there is that measurable, observable action to show respect. That is to listen attentively. You do not just end up respecting each other's opinion because that is a very broad statement. No? So the students will be guided how they can demonstrate their respect no, to others' opinion. Then we have to that is to model not positive behavior. So um, it is very important no that teachers should be able to also demonstrate the kind of behavior we expect no, our students to manifest. You know, a teacher wants to encourage respectful communication in the classroom, for example. So, when a student no interrupt a classmate, the teacher gently says, "No, let's make sure we'll listen when others are speaking. I'll wait no until John, for example. I'll wait until John finishes before we respond." So, in that manner, that students unpleasant behavior of disrupting the student no while talking, you as a teacher, you model the positive behavior by constructively explaining to let John, for example, first finish no his or her presentation before we give no our reaction no, to what is being shared. So as a teacher, we need to consistently model patience and active listening, not to reinforce a respectful discussion rather than just we demand it to our students, but personally we cannot demonstrate no, that behavior. That is to make sure that a positive example should be set first by teachers before we expect students not to learn it, because students learn best now when they model it not to someone they think is in authority. Suppose for example the teacher is the authoritative figure in the class, so therefore it's a reminder for us teachers to model first no rather than just verbally teaching our students. Then we have the use of reinforcement techniques, na? In, that is to encourage appropriate behavior with positive reinforcement. When we say appropriate behavior, it is a behavior or action that is productive na, academically, while also it is also considering na, the welfare of the student. When we say reinforcement, it is something pleasant. No, it is something reward that is being given to the student. Therefore, whenever a misbehavior will be manifested in the classroom, because as teachers we cannot avoid, no, we cannot get rid of misbehaviors in the classroom because secondary students, no, as young as they are very curious, playful. Sometimes no their energy is just so much that they can just sit down. So therefore as teachers we need to be creative with and resourceful no, with our techniques as to when to provide reinforcement. So a reward system, for example, no, you will have there the star student board, or we have that wall for achievers to be able to display those to be able to give credit for those students who manifest or model good behavior in the classroom. Then we have fair and consistent discipline, I mean. So therefore as teachers we need to apply consequences now fairly. When we say fairly, it's not selective. It doesn't matter whether the student no, is a son of a co-teacher or a colleague, and it doesn't matter if the student is a son of a janitor. So therefore, our rule should apply fairly to everyone regardless of their status. That is being fair. And being consistent is that for the whole academic year, um, you are able to follow through no what is being said no rather than just you say yes today and you say no tomorrow for the same reason no that will affect your credibility as a teacher. And take note as well, we are living no, in an imperfect world. We cannot always expect that everything will happen as planned. So, therefore, as teachers, we also need to have that extent of tolerance. Now, what we think is fair to everyone. So if a rule states that late homework results no, in a deduction of points, it should be applied to all students equally without any exemption. Having that demerit, no, a deduction of points for late outputs, is fair to those who are striving so hard to be able to submit the required output on time or ahead of time. That is to give credit no, to their hard work. And also giving consequence for the late submission for them to learn that um, it's not okay to be lax and complacent, because if we do not have the rule of demerits, there is no bearing for setting a deadline. Your student could just submit an output at the end of the academic year. So if you give an assignment by July, if there is no demerit uh, consequence for that, then they will have the option to just submit all of your required tasks at the end of the academic year. And you might be biased because you have the tendency to be saying yes to others and saying no to others. So it's a reminder for us teachers. That's why from the very start, we need to um, explain to our students what our rules and expectations are clearly, so that they'll be able to apply it in our classroom fairly and consistently, because effective teachers establish expectations early. When we say early, that is the first meeting of the academic year, so that our students will be guided what are their deliverables and what are expected from them. They will be aware, capable, and accountable for their behavior. And take note as well, since you will be handling secondary level students, it's not enough that you have set clearly your rules in the first meeting. It's enough for the whole academic year. No, we are. That's why we are called the loco parentis. We are the second parents of our students. So therefore, just like parents do, from time to time, we will be reminding them, consistently, because they are not adult learners like you. Even college students, now we need to remind them how much more for these minor learners. So therefore, it's our role as a second parent will take place in here, because we are not just expected to deliver competently our specialization, our field of expertise, but we are also to play the role of the second parent to be helping our learners be guided all throughout the academic year. Okay, so for your assignment, you will be expected to design a learner centered classroom layout and present it through a virtually recorded presentation. So, your layout should be thoughtfully structured to create an engaging, inclusive, and efficient learning environment. No? To ensure that your design addresses the following considerations. So, first is we have student movement and accessibility. So you make sure that in your layout, you arrange the space to allow free and comfortable movement for all students, including those with special needs. Like for example, what if you have one of your students nga maglisod og lakaw. So you should have enough space for that. Ensure clear pathways to have that organized flow of movement. Then we have teachers visibility and engagement zone, in which teaching areas we need to position them to maximize the teacher's ability to monitor, engage and interact with students effectively. Then we have collaborative and individual learning spaces. That is to incorporate areas, both for group activities, independent work or individual work, to ensure flexibility in the seating arrangement. Then we have the resource placement for efficiency. So we need to strategically place learning materials, tools, or technology for easy access, while maintaining organized and cluster-free environments. So, as discussed earlier, we make sure that all the needed materials for that class period should be placed no, in an area wherein it's accessible or can be reached for someone who will be using it. So your virtual presentation should clearly illustrate your classroom layout. So therefore, you also have to explain You need to explain the design that you choose and how it enhances student learning and teacher effectiveness. Your output note should be uploaded in your Google Drive and submit the Google Drive link in the course task to be posted in our Google Classroom. So you will be rated based on these criteria. That is not the criteria of student movement and accessibility. Then we have the teacher visibility and engagement zone. We have the collaborative individual learning spaces and resource placement. Okay, so that's it. If you have questions and clarifications, you can freely send a message in our group chat na, in the messenger. Thank you, everyone.